Hello, and welcome to the second video in my installment. Today I'm going to show you a little bit about how I'm preparing to make my own toiletries for my trip. In particular, I'm going to show you how I'm making toothpaste, deodorant, and hair paste. So let's get started. What you see here is a collection of the ingredients that I'll be using today. I want to say that I am not endorsing anyone here. This is my first time doing this. I'm bringing people along to see what I'm doing on my journey, and I want to share everything. So don't take this as me endorsing any products. Just take this as this is my first start. This is what I'm going to try using, and we'll see if they work. We have some baking soda. We have some arrowroot powder, some beeswax, some bentonite clay, some peppermint extract, coconut oil, some sandalwood oil, some xylitol, some jojoba oil, and some shea butter, as well as a couple containers to put the finished product in when I'm done. Okay, so the first thing we're going to be starting with is the toothpaste. And I'm starting with that just because it does not require any cooking or any temperature to make this. It's quite simple, just mix the ingredients together. As you can see here, we're having some coconut oil, some baking soda, some xylitol, which provides a little bit of sweetness, as well as providing some anti-cavity components. Now, I should mention, if you have pets on your boat, be very careful with the xylitol, as this is toxic to pets. I do not have any pets, so I'm not going to worry about that. We have some bentonite clay, and of course, some peppermint so we can get some flavor in here. One thing to note as we get started, I have gone on and found recipes online, and I've adjusted them for tropical conditions. Mainly, I wanted to make things a little bit more stable in temperatures, in high temperatures. So we now have the mixture, and we are going to mix this up. Okay, so we're just finishing up the mixing here, and what you can see is we have this rather colorless gray blob of toothpaste. And of course the reality is not everything is a pretty color in nature, especially things that use for cleaning ingredients. When we go into the stores and we pay for those fancy cleaning ingredients, what we're paying for are a lot of chemicals and colorants that are not healthy for us and not needed. So I am now just going to transfer this into a handy container, and we now have toothpaste that will last me for at least the next month. And the cost of this was pennies. Now, one thing to note on this, when you're applying your toothpaste, never stick your brush in this container. Use a spoon or something clean to pull it out, because you do not want to contaminate this and ruin the rest of your toothpaste. Okay, so the next thing we're going to be making is the deodorant. For this, we're going to have to melt some waxes, so we're going to get a double boiler going. For my double boiler, I am just using a standard metal pan, and I have a little bit of water in that pan, and I have a Pyrex bowl on top of the pan. Gonna let that heat up, and we're going to add some of the ingredients as soon as that boiler is going. So for this, we're going to again start with some coconut oil. So in this case, for the tropical adjustment, I am going to start with 2 tablespoons of coconut oil. And then we're going to add to this another 2 tablespoons of shea butter. My bad measurement, but it looks close enough. Maybe I'll just add a little bit more. Okay, well that's all melting there, and it's starting to melt up nice. Last thing we need to do is add 2 teaspoons of beeswax. Okay, about 2 teaspoons in there. And now we are just going to let this melt. Okay, so as you can see, everything is done melting. So all we're going to do now is add 2 tablespoons of baking soda, another 2 tablespoons of arrowroot powder, and if you don't have arrowroot powder, cornstarch is fine to substitute. Okay, so we have all that put together. We are going to just mix this up while it cools. You know, I'm trying to save money, trying to do this as cheaply as possible, but even so, it is nice to add something that smells a little bit nice to it. So, got a little sandalwood, and I am just going to do about 15 drops of sandalwood. Okay, we have that all mixed in. Smells very nice. I wish I could share that with you. And then we are just going to take a container, and we can now pour this in. And once that solidifies, you will have some deodorant. Okay, now for the last item, we are going to be making some hair paste. And the main ingredient of this is largely beeswax. And we want the beeswax because it maintains shape under heat. For this, then we need to put in another 2 tablespoons of shea and 1 tablespoon of coconut. We'd be using more coconut than shea if we were in cooler temperatures, but again, we're making this for the tropics, so we compensate with things that can handle higher temperatures. So the next thing I need to add to this is the coconut oil, and I need 1 tablespoon of coconut. So just like before, we melt this, and it should be pretty obvious to anyone looking at this that the toothpaste, the deodorant, the hair paste, it's all pretty similar in its base ingredients. You're just varying it and adding different smells. So the nice thing is, once you get what you need for this, you really don't have to buy different ingredients for each of your toiletries that you're making. But if you've bought things like Crew Fiber or Crew Paste, you know how expensive this is. And again, they're spending pennies to make this stuff. There's not much to it. I mean, yeah, they're using some more toxic chemicals than I am using, and that probably makes things even cheaper for them, especially at bulk. But look at this. I'm spending pennies to make this. This is going to last me a couple of months. And most importantly, when we're out on the boat and we're living off grid, we're not going to be subject to having to find towns that have this stuff. We have our solar power, we have our water maker, we have stuff to make our own toiletries, we have food with us, we can fish, we can really escape and just be away from all of the people that we want to be away from. This is one more way to have freedom and one more way to stay away from all of the evils in this world. And I've now added that. So we have now completed everything we need. It is almost all melted. I'm going to give it just another minute because there's a few tiny pieces of beeswax in here that have not melted. And I do want to have a nice consistency when this is done. And there you have it. We now have the deodorant, the hair paste, and the toothpaste. Everything is cooled down. It's ready to use. It's been tried out, and it works wonderfully. So not only am I now saving a decent amount of money on having to do this, I'm not subject to having to spend time finding stores to purchase the stuff when I'm at sea. I also am not contributing any more plastic waste when I create the stuff. So it's really a win-win situation, and it's something I recommend you give it a try. This was my first time doing this. It was incredibly easy, and I don't see any reason why anyone couldn't do this on their own. So thank you for watching. I hope this helps, and I hope this teaches you how to make some supplies. Have a great day.